with yellow and red and white letters saying Games Workshop. And I looked down and I saw a bunch of toys. I was like, what, maybe 13, 14 when I found out about it. I did not know what they were. The only thing that I knew is that they look cool. And the Space Marines was the thing that grabbed me. And I went inside the store and I went with a cousin. And me and my cousin, we were just looking around, and I think it was the store supervisor or the store manager that let us play and explaining like what how to play Warhammer. And my English at that time, and even my cousin, he knows a little bit much than I do at the time, and we were like, we don't understand what is happening. We just going roll with it, and we were just rolling dice, and all we knew is that my cousin won and I lost because I had terrible rolls, and that was like my first introduction to Warhammer. Then on a I believe on a second trip, this was later on. I remembered it was on a Target, and I was with my mom, and I went to the game section and I saw Dawn of War Gold Edition. I begged my mom to buy it, and I couldn't wait to get back to Colombia and play that game. I wanted the trip to end so I can go and play Dawn of War on my PC. And it was on a family PC, and that was my second. And that's where I learned about the different chapters, the lore, because like I said, whenever after that trip from Canada, like basically it was just that, just the Battle for Macarac box set and the game. That's it. And then later came Dawn of War, and then that was like my introduction to Warhammer. And some of my friends started to like digging more into it, but surface level, because it wasn't that big back in Latin America or Colombia. That is where I'm from. And the other thing that I had too was magazine that it came with the box set, and that's where I learned about the Black Templars. They were the coolest with the black armor, with the basically Crusaders Nazis. That was, for some reason, that was metal as hell. And the salamanders came later, because that's when I learned that they not the good space marines, but basically fire, just heavy flamers, heavy assault, heavy the defense and it's just we do not move until we said we move. And I'm like, that's I like that. And also the protect humanity and all that stuff, but that's not why I like salamanders. It basically just heavy flamer, reduce to ashes, and that's it. Move on. That's why I like salamanders. And yeah, basically with these speed paint, what I'm doing is not that different than what you have seen with others. I have an airbrush. The airbrush that I use is a Pashy Vision Talon, and because Pashy has a different type of measurement settings, so they only have 0, 1, 2, and 3. And because I wanted to finish it as fast as possible, I just used the needle size 3. And for the paint, I'm using the Nocturna Vallejo Fantasy Pro, and the one that I was using for the deep shadows, Chalice Red; for the midtones, Magenta Blood; and Devil Red for the highlights; and for extra highlights, Worn Red. You can get that set on Amazon, I believe. And for the blue, I use the AK Interactive. Which one was it? Medium blue. And for the highlights, I only use Ducat blue. Yeah, that was it. Oh, and for the green, fluorescent green and lime green for AK Interactive. And for the teeth, I use Buff from AK again. And yeah, that was it. That's all for the paints. And the color scheme is from the Behemoth Tyrant fleet. That is red, black, and blue. The black is Tenebrous Gray from AK. It's the closest one that goes for, or very close to, Null Oil. And Null Oil is one of my favorite dark colors. Yeah, that's basically it. So just gonna let the video keep going until it's end, and I will have another one, maybe another miniature video or sculpting, whatever I feel like it. Alright, see you everybody, bye.